Hello, geometry students. We are talking about volume this week. So we're going to look at the volume of prisms, cylinders, pyramids, cones, and spheres. As always, I hope you are staying safe and I hope you are doing well. Here we go. All right, so we have volume of a prism. So it's always the volume equals the area of the base times the height. So it's always it. But in a special case, which is easy, is the volume of a rectangular prism. The volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times height because the base would have been length times width times, and then you just multiply it by height. So it's really easy to do, not too hard to do. So we're going to go ahead and write that formula down. And we have the three numbers, really easy. 6 times 6 times 12, 2, and that's cubic centimeters. Now, I made a mistake right here. That should actually be a 3 because when we're dealing with volume, we're dealing with 3 dimensions. All right, let's go to the next one. Find the volume of the prism. So now we have a triangular prism. And so once you've established that it's no longer a rectangle prism, then you are worried about the triangle. And remember, your big B is always what's different from the rectangle. So that's our triangle. So we got to find the area of the triangle like we did with the surface area. So our big B is going to be the area of the triangle. So we got to find it first. So we're going to do 1/2 times 10 times 12 because that's the area of a triangle. And you should figure that out. That's 60. And all you have to do, remember what I said last week, the one number you haven't used yet is your height. So this 25 is my height. So when I substitute, I get my big B and I get my height and then I multiply it out. And again, I messed up the second power. That's going to be 3. And so the volume of the prism is 1,500 cubic centimeters. Easy multiplying. And you'll have, for an assignment, you'll have one of each example, having only 6 problems to do. All right, let's go to cylinders. Cylinders, again, easy peasy, because you just have to follow the formula. Formula is pretty easy, pi r squared h, and we're going to use 3.14 for pi. So pi r squared h, find the volume of the cylinder to the nearest 10. Use 3.14 for pi. All right, so all we got to do is just substitute. This is great. So we know 8 here is our radius, and we have 5 here as our height. So again, when you're multiplying, just make sure you do the 8 to the second power first, and then multiply everything else. So especially if you're using a simple calculator. So if you multiply all those together, there you go. You're going to get that answer, 1,004.8 centimeters cubed. All right, let's move on to the next example. All right, now we have a cone. A cone, again, is easy. So with a cone, you use the same formula, but you're taking 1/3 of the cone. And there's actually a mathematical reason for it. And I wish I could tell you. But again, you guys are at home. We just don't have time. But it is a mathematical reason why you take 1/3 of the cylinder. So the same, I just am adding the 1/3 to the formula. So again, I can substitute. So here we have our radius, and then here we have our height. We're just going to substitute into the formula and just multiply it out. So we got 1/3, we got 3.14 for our pi, and we have 5 for radius squared, and we have our height. And we're just going to multiply all of that out. Hence, on using the calculator, figure out what 5 to the second power is first, 25, and then also figure out what 1/3 is, which is 0.333 if you want to use it. So if you're using a calculator on your phone, it's just easier just to do the multiplication all at the end and figure out exponents and division first. So we get 314 inches to the 3rd power. The volume is approximately 314 centimeters, cubic centimeters. All right, so here we have our pyramid. And so our pyramid is we're gonna have to go back to the big BH. So we're gonna have to find the area of the base. But it's gonna be pretty easy to do, and then height is easy to see on a pyramid. Let's try it. So there's our formula. And remember, big B is the area of the base. So there's our square pyramid that we have. All right, so we have a square for a base. So we can use the same formula as a rectangle because a square is a rectangle. 3 times 3 is 9. So we're going to take that 9 and plug it into our formula. And then what's the height? That 7 is our height. So it makes it really easy to figure out what goes where. So I'm going to substitute. I get 1/3 times 9 times 7. And we get 21 inches to the 3rd power. Oh, I wish I could correct that. I actually can go back and correct it. All right, so next, the volume of the pyramid is 21 cubic inches. And I think we're down to our last example. Sphere is easy. It's just like dealing with the cone or the cylinder. So here we have no height. It's a sphere. It's the same distance from the center all the way around. So we really only have one measurement that we care about, which is the radius. And we're just going to take that to the 3rd power because, again, we're talking about volume. So 3 dimensions. So we're just going to plug it in. R is a radius. We know exactly what the radius is. So we have 4/3, 3.14 times 8 to the 3rd power. So if you have a calculator that you can't change your exponent, then all you have to do is multiply 8 times 8 times 8, and that will give you 8 to the 3rd power. And then you can just go ahead and plug it in and figure out your math. So that is the answer to that problem. And that is our last example. I think this is the shortest video that I have done since starting these video lessons. I hope that you can figure it out. I will send out a Zoom if anybody requesting a Zoom or need help. You're more than happy to email me or send me a note through Remind or through Google Classroom. Again, stay safe and have an awesome day. Thanks. Bye.